And now it's time for the Sports Kings from Queens.
Welcome back, sports fans. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd. Welcome to the Sports Kings from Queens, and this is episode 133. This is the New York Yankees LA Dodger World Series preview. I'm Gino, joined by Kevin and Darren. You can catch us wherever you get your podcast. Like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Send us some questions, some thoughts, some comments. We'll be sure to respond. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get it started. Before we preview the World Series, let's talk about how we got here. We're going to start with the NL, then we'll move to the AL. Mets lose to the Dodgers in 6. For me, they gave it everything they had. They beat the Braves to get in. They beat the Brewers. They beat the Phillies. Dodgers just became too much. When we get to Game 6, we'll talk about it. Manaea looked tired in Game 6. It's just too much offense. The Mets didn't get the starting pitching they needed to win that series, but they showed fight, right? They're down 3-1 to the Dodgers. They came up big in Game 5. It's the last home game of the season for them. They put up 12 runs. They sent the series back to L.A. Vientos came in, he put the spotlight on himself. If this doesn't move him to a bona fide star status, I don't know what is this playoffs. But Mets are down in 6. Dodgers advance. Kev, let's talk about the Mets.
Yeah, 1,000% right. I agree with you totally. The Mets ran out of gas. That's plain and simple for the pitching staff. In 6 games, they allowed 46 runs, which is one thing. The 42 walks in 6 games, that's 7 walks a game, way too many. And I tell you, the Dodgers are one of the most patient teams I've ever seen play. We could get to specifics, but you look at like Game 4, Dodgers win 10-2. Quintana, nibbled like he always does. But the Dodgers win the chase. And, just got to be frustrating after a while to see, him, to see Severino, especially those two guys who maybe pitch out of the strike zone and get hitters to chase mostly. They've done that for most of the year. Quintana, especially once September hit, he was phenomenal down the stretch. But they just wouldn't chase. And when you take a look, Ohtani at the top, 548 on base. He had 9 walks. And otherworldly, something like 19 for his last 23 with runners in scoring position. I mean, that's unheard of. Okay. But he's Shohei Ohtani. I don't mind that. Even Mookie Betts, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs in the series. That's fine. Freeman did nothing because of the ankle. Teoscar Hernandez did nothing. I mean, the two of them were combined 5 for 40. And if you told me, Shohei got his, Mookie got his, but you shut down the other two, I would have thought the Mets would have had a much better chance. But then guys like Max Muncy, who drew 11 walks, the guy never swung the bat. He had a .639 base percentage. How is that possible in the series? And then the NLCS MVP, Tommy Freak Edman, with 11 RBIs in 6 games. I mean, these are the guys killing the Mets. Just unreal. The Mets side, like you said, Vientos, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs in the series, had a great postseason in general. Was Mets clearly the best hitter. Lindor played fine. Alvarez heated up towards the end of the series there. He was really good for games 5 and 6. Winker was solid when he was in there. I think they should have benched Martinez even more, especially in games 3 and 4 against.
I think you could argue that. I think you could argue that, Kev.
With Buehler and with Yamamoto. I mean, especially Winker had numbers against Buehler. I think he should have been in there. Alonso did hit a home run, hit 273, but, I think it was a pretty quiet 273. Nimmo, you could tell, was hurting. But really, it came down to Manaea hitting the wall. I mean, he hit the wall hard in Game 2.
Yeah.
He had 5 terrific innings. Game 6, bang, hit the wall and never recovered. And Game 6, he was just bad. Like I said, Quintana couldn't get them to chase. Kodai Senga was a wasted start in Game 1. I don't know. That was just a failure on their part. The bullpen, outside of Diaz, who was really good, had a 6-out save in Game 4. Or not 6-out save. I think he did get the 6 outs in Game 5, I should say, not Game 4.
Yeah, Game 5.
Game 5.
And then, Mendoza rolled the dice, brought him in early to try to keep the game within reach in Game 6. Good or bad decision, who knows? Mendoza said, you know what? I'm sending my best out there. Try to keep the game close. Let's see what can happen. Stanek had that terrific performance in Game 5, but the rest of the bullpen, 57 base runners in 32 innings. Now, they sprung leaks all over the place, and they just didn't get the depth in the starting rotation because the pitchers threw too many pitches in their starts, and the bullpen was running on fumes. And that was it. It was a great ride. If you're a Met fan, you cannot be disappointed. You cannot bitch and moan about this. Yeah, you're upset that they lost. It happens. But I think the ride that they've been on for the last 3-4 weeks, it was enjoyable. I mean, nothing more to it. Guys, as a non-Mets fans like I am, what are you guys thinking?
Well, okay. The Mets were the most exciting team in baseball the last basically 5 weeks. And there was not one exciting game in this entire series. 9-0, 7-3, 8-0, 10-2, 12-6, 10-5. You can go back to early inning situations where they could have batted, where they had bases loaded and didn't make anything happen, stuff like that. There was not a climactic game in this entire series. There was really nothing to really get excited about. Listen, the pitching was what we thought was going to be the weakness all year. It held up all year, and in the biggest spot, it just wasn't there. I mean, Minaya, this was the best season he's ever had. Let's be honest. Yeah. And he pitched great all year, but in a big spot against a big team, you don't want to hear that he ran out of gas, but it just looked like he was overmatched. They weren't going after the crap, and he could not get people out. Quintana's whole game is nibbling, and listen, it's like facing Johnny Franco for 5 innings. You just don't swing. He's going to walk you. Well, why swing? Why even bother? He's not going to throw a strike. If he throws an 84-mile-an-hour fastball, hit it. That was Franco. I mean, Quintana could get it into I think the high 80s, low 90s. But same type of thing.
Same thought process. Yep.
But my problem with the Mets in this series a little bit was that they didn't try to make anything happen. It was like Acuna just sat there. Why is he on the team? Jeff McNeil's not making anything happen. Obviously Iglesias was burnt out. Acuna's a young, fun player. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he's the spark. Let's see if he's the guy. Winker's sitting for Martinez. Why? Winker's an emotional player. Martinez is not. When you're playing against a team that might be superior, you need to have emotion. You need to have excitement, and they didn't have it. Outside of Vientos, who was probably the third best player in the series behind Betts and Ohtani, not to insult Vientos. You could put him first. You could put him second. Those were the 3 best players. But Vientos was doing it all by himself, and I never understood the moving. When they decided to move Nimmo in the lineup, I was happy. And when I found out they moved him to 2, I wasn't happy. Drop him further. He's obviously hurt. He obviously doesn't have it. It was like, I thought that Mendy did an amazing job all season. I thought he was a great choice as manager. I'm not going to critique a lot of what he did, but I thought that at times, I just didn't think he tried to shuffle it up as much as I would have thought he might have, especially coming off a 9-0 loss and an 8-0 loss and a 10-2 loss. You're saying to yourself, well, we need changes here. I mean, we need to do something a little bit different. We need to move people around. We need to try to find a way to get a spark. And, to me, I would have moved Marte up a little bit in the order, even though he wasn't hitting that much, or maybe brought Winker up in the order and played him, or Acuna near the top, just trying to do something a little different. I thought that Mendy managed a little bit too cautiously in this one. But again, I hate to say it like this, Kev, because it's not meant as a disparaging bit to the Mets, but the better team did win the series, unfortunately.
No doubt about it. Yep.
The Dodgers, and for the first time in a while, we have the 2 1 seeds going to be facing off when we get into the American League. They're just not I don't know. The Dodgers aren't a fun team. They kind of walk on you. Betts is a real exciting, fun player, but outside of him, there's not a lot of fun guys. Edman's annoying, but if he was on your team, you'd love him. That's just kind of what it is. Same thing with a guy like Muncy walking around the bases. G?
Listen, I think the Mets gave you everything they had, to be honest. You can pick on some of the moves Mendoza made. Listen, Mendoza was good. He was good this year. There's no way to get around it. The question that, and we'll tackle this in the offseason questions, right? But the big thing is, where do you go from here? Because normally when you get to this point with a team, it's okay, we're going to see next year. We'll add a couple of pieces. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then you hope to get to the next level and come back here again. And with this team, you got a lot of pieces that you're going to have to kind of figure out between Alonso and the pitching. And, so we'll tackle that when we get there, in weeks ahead. But, listen, I think it's a great season for the Mets. You get knocked out in Game 6 in the championship round. When at some point in this season, early in the season, we never thought they had a shot at even making the playoffs. And then even as we got into August when they were playing well, it was still okay. They're still in a battle and they're battling to get in the playoffs. And listen, I think they did a great job. Kev?
I mean, like you said, Game 6, 13 men left on base, and how many of them early? How many bases loaded did they not get runs in? You can talk about Mendoza all you want, everything else. The players have to get runs in there. We have the bases loaded, one out, get the runs in, and they didn't do it. Like I said, for the offseason on offense, Alonso's the big guy who's going to be the free agent. I want him back, and I want him back at $300 million for 10 years. But be something reasonable. He needs to be back. JD Martinez can go. Bader can go. Winker, I'd like to have back. It's got to be the pitching.
I don't think you're getting Alonso back at a reasonable number.
I don't know if the market's going to be there for him, to be honest.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out.
We'll find out.
It's Forrest. It's Scott Forrest, so we'll see about that.
Number, but
the question's going
to be one point I want to make, though, but before we get into the off season, like in 2015, the Mets, Matt Harvey, Thor. Okay, we got here. We didn't win it. We'll be back. Then you're not back. You can't play it like that, guys. You can't sit there and act like, okay, well, we'll be back next year. No big deal. Oh, everything's fine. No. You get to this point. You can't say, good season, boys. You got to be disappointed. You can't just sit there. I mean, listen, maybe a month from now, you can sit back and say, okay, we made a good run. But right now, I don't buy into the, you know what? Fun year. Yay, team. Bullshit. You got to find your way in. You don't know when you're getting back. The Yankees took 15 years with all the freaking salary they've spent over the last 15 years. Took them 15 years to get back to the stupid point. And you know what? I hate this. I hate to see a Met fan get like complacent. Like, oh, well, we'll get Soto and we'll bring back Alonso and Cohen's got more money than God. And we're going to sign Burness and we're going to sign 20 guys and we're going to do everything right. Because you just don't know with injuries. Because, you could sign Burness. Say you do sign Corbin Burns, right? Say you bring him back and bring him here. And in his third start, he gets Tommy John. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take anything. It takes Diaz has a year where he falls off the cliff. I mean, you just never know what it's going to be. He pulls a Clay Holmes. I mean, you just never know. So I as much as I thought Mendy was great this year, I didn't think he was good. I thought he was excellent because the team, I thought he pressed all the right buttons. I think that there were two bases loaded situations in Game 6 early on, and they didn't get anybody in, and lots of those situations, those things can't happen. And it can't just be, well, you know what, next year we'll be better. Next year's owed to nobody. Yes. When you're there, you have to freaking win. And you know what? They didn't, and it sucks. It just sucks. I don't want to face listen, I'm a Yankee fan, but I want the Mets to get through. I really did. If the Yankees would have lost, I would have been happy that the Mets didn't get through because that's why I didn't have to hear it. But I would have loved the Subway Series.
I would have loved it too. It would have been great.
I was rooting for the Yankees in the Indian series, Guardian series. I'm sorry.
Sorry to who? Me and Dino.
Kev, give us the final comments on the Mets.
Terrific season, a little short of the World Series, but you know what? We'll see what they do in the offseason now.
Okay. All right. We will move over to the American League. Yankees take out Cleveland in 5 games. Game-winning hit comes in Game 5 in the 10th inning. It's a Soto home run. It's a 3-run shot on a 14-pitch at-bat off Gaddis. How did the Yankees win? 10 home runs in 5 games. Stanton 4, Soto 3, Judge 2, Wells 1. Glaber and Volpe got hits when they needed. They beat the Cleveland bullpen when they had to, and they got decent outings, and I won't go good, but decent outings from their starters. At least 4 innings from everybody across the board. Rodon 6, Cole 4.1, Schmidt 4.2, Gill 4, Rodon 4.2. They even had a lead in game 3 in the loss. Darren?
So all the drama the Mets had all season, the Yankees really didn't. And this series, down the stretch in the final 3 games, was all drama. The Yankees, all of a sudden, the magical part of this of baseball went to the American League, where it wasn't before that, to be honest with you. The Yankees, like you said, I mean, Soto's at bat, his 3-run homer was humongous, just to put them over the top. But you're skipping Stanton's 2-run shot that tied it up. Why are they pitching to Stanton in so many situations? You're just saying to yourself, why even bother? Postseason Stanton is not Giancarlo Stanton we see during the year. It's not even close.
Not even close.
Postseason Stanton is the best player in the universe, or what he wants to be. It's hysterical. And the shots weren't just cheapies. Everything he hit was a bomb. He hit that line drive, 430 feet, 117 miles an hour. I mean, who does that? This guy, who you think is 40 and every Yankee fan wanted to get rid of before the season started, saying he's just taking up space. If he didn't have him, the Yankees don't win this series. They probably don't even get past Kansas City, because the problem with the Yankees right now is that Soto is hitting and Glaber's hitting and Stanton is hitting and Judge still isn't. And Chisholm can't hit his weight. And Wells can't hit a pitch unless it's 85 miles an hour. And you know what? And, while Volpe's been fine and all that type of stuff, you have 3 guys in that order that are turning into automatic outs. And if they play this way against the Dodgers, they will not win. To be perfectly honest,
we'll get to the
I
Dodgers.
understand, but I'm talking about the Cleveland series. We're talking about what they've done, not what they're going to do. So I don't want you to think I'm trying to jump ahead. I'm saying that they got past an inferior team that had a great bullpen that they roughed up like no other. The Yankees own the Cleveland bullpen. Matthew Boyd goes out there and throws a gem for 5 innings. They rough up the bullpen and almost win game 3. And nobody was supposed to be able to touch this pen. But when you use them, like Kev said, every night in, night out, 162 games, when the longest starter that they had was Boyd's 5-inning start, which is why I point that out. Nobody went 5 except for Boyd in that one game, and he gave up 2 hits, and they couldn't wait to yank him. You're doing something wrong. You can't rely on these guys to do it every single night, no matter how deep the pen is. All it takes is one bad pitch to Stanton, and it's a game.
Yep.
I thought Jimenez defensively for Cleveland he made a couple. He won game 3 for them basically with his defensive plays. He actually won, and he got robbed out of another brilliant play because Ramirez dropped the ball on the tag. Otherwise, he would have had 2 outs in that with amazing plays. I thought Rocchio was an impossible guy to get out. He was a pesky, annoying player. The problem for Cleveland was that Ramirez didn't do anything. And when Ramirez doesn't do anything on that order, that team is pitchable. You can throw to anybody on that roster. Nobody's scared you coming up.
No.
Josh Naylor, as big and strong as he may be, does not frighten you in any way. Neither does his brother Bo. Fry was a guy that you thought was pretty good, but you also said we can pitch to him. You never – I know he hit the big home run and won the game 3. I get it. But you never felt like you couldn't. The problem with Cleveland was in big spots, and I was texting with you guys, why are they pitching to Stanton here? Yeah. Boom. Why? I mean, they just couldn't realize that you had to do it. And the reluctance of Boone to move Stanton up to the 4 earlier is just so frustrating, which is why if he doesn't win the series, I still want him and Cashman fired because they suck. But that's beside the point. Very excited about the way they played, the excitement and the drama. You saw why Soto's going to be a $750 million guy over a 15-year, or 12 to 15-year contract. You saw why. He's going to make $800 million probably because somebody's going to give it to him because you know what? In a big spot, he knew he was getting a hit. You see the way he was shaking at Gaddis? Like, please, you're going to make a mistake, and I'm going to hit it over the fence, and I'm going to laugh, and you're going to cry, and that's going to be the way this goes. And you knew it. You knew it going in that he was going to hit the – it was almost like Lindor in the earlier series before this Dodgers series. You knew he was going to get the big hit. When Stanton needed to get the big hit, you knew it was going to happen. So and Glaber was on the whole series. Glaber was a pesky guy that, again, every Yankee fan wanted out of this team in June, in July. We don't need him anymore. Well, you know what? Without him, you don't win. So there's a lot of things to really enjoy about what the Yankees did, but we still didn't see the complete Yankees, is my point. The best player in the league still hasn't shown up yet through 2 series. And that's the one thing. He had a couple of home runs, and he hit the dramatic one in game 3, but they lost that game. So you know what? The home run's forgotten about to a certain extent because they didn't come back to win it. That's where I kind of leave it. And if Garrett Cole's going to pitch like this, they have no shot because Cole has to be an ace. I don't need him to go. I know people, we'll talk about it later, 1-4-7. I don't know about that. But I just want him to pitch 2 good starts and give the team a chance to win because I don't think the Dodgers have anyone that can match him if he's on. That's just my take. Yep. Gino.
Kev?
Kev. Sorry, Kev.
You stole my point a little bit. I've written down here. Cole has to pitch like the best pitcher in the series 2 times coming up for the Yankees to win the World Series. And that's what it's going to be. Cole has to pitch like he is the best pitcher because on paper, he is the best pitcher right now in this series. No doubt about it. The Yankees, like Darren, like you said, they beat up the bullpen. Cleveland couldn't wait to get into the bullpen every game early. It catches up to you. I think looking ahead, the Dodgers almost feel the same way. Flaherty, you don't know what you're going to get. Some of the other guys, we'll talk about that in a minute. As far as this series, like you said, it was Soto and Stanton showing up big time for the Yankees. I mean, Soto $750 million for 12 or 15 years or whatever it's going to be. The guy's 26 years old. You've got 10 years of prime.
Not yet. He's still 25.
He's entering his age 26 season.
You're 100% right, Kev. I'm just busting shots.
But no, I mean, the point is that you don't get players like this entering free agency at 25. That's why he's going to get the huge money. And you're hoping that as he goes from 25 to 35, that he doesn't suffer any injuries and doesn't tail off. If you give him 12 years and if he tails off the last 2 at 36 and 37, hey, I've got 10 great years from Juan Soto.
Yep.
I had written down, Torres and Volpe. Even Rizzo had a couple of
He did.
There.
By the way, before you get into that, his defensive play was horrendous.
Yeah.
They brought him catch a little flip. I don't know what he can't catch a flip. He can't cover anything. And they're bringing him as a defensive replacement. I was losing my mind watching. They chased me out of the upstairs. The girls didn't want me anywhere around because I was yelling so much. I'm just saying. Sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
No, but at least on the offensive, at least at bat, he contributed a few hits here and there as well. I mean, they got contributions, from unexpected sources. They need Judge. They need Wells to step up here. And they need pitching. And Chisholm, yep. But, they took care of a team that they should have beaten in 5. I had them winning in 5. They won in 5. Case closed. They were the better team over the Cleveland Guardians, and they proved it.
Okay. So, Yankees play the Dodgers. Dodgers are the home team. It's a 2-3-2 format, we know. Looks like Cole and Flaherty are the game 1 starters. I think we talked about Cole a little bit, but Cole does need to come up big in this series. I mean, we got big lineups. We got big bats in this series on both teams. If you're going to give any edge, it's the Yankee starting pitching compared to the Dodgers starting pitching. They're probably going to go Yamamoto and Flaherty and Buehler. If they go to
Flaherty's 1.
I didn't mean the order. I just meant the pitchers.
And Yamamoto, I think, is 2, right? I think they already named
it. Yamamoto's still on a pitch count of like 75, they said. So you're still probably not getting the best out of him at this point. Or at least
the bullpen edge goes to the Dodgers, though, Gino. I mean, the Yankees starters, but the bullpen edge goes to the Dodgers.
At least not max effort anyway. Out of Yamamoto. For me, I was glad in game 5 of the playoff series against Cleveland that he went back to Weaver after giving him the day off. He pitched 2 innings. So he had the day off. He came back because he gave up that home run. At least, you got him back in a little bit of better frame of mind. I was glad Boone used other relievers, Darren. Whether or not they gave you good or bad innings, he went to Cousins and Leiter and Meza. Hamilton even pitched a little bit. Get some of these other guys. Oh, Dan, you're going to need him at some point to give you an inning or 2.
No, Hamilton got hurt. He pitched 1 inning and he got hurt. He's out. That's why
that's why Leiter's in.
He got in there and he injured himself.
We We've adapted, and that's the word I will use, to Holmes pitching in the middle kind of innings. Hill and Canely making the way to Weaver. I don't know. For me, the question is, do they get anything out of Cortez in this series? We'll see. They haven't decided whether or not he's on this roster yet. We'll see. Is he a potential Game 4 starter? I don't know yet. I don't think anybody knows yet. We'll see, depending on his health.
He may get the spot over Stroman more than anything else. I mean, it's going to be those two guys fighting for who's the long man.
Yeah.
I would use Cortez because he can kind of come in and get 1 or 2 outs, and he's done it before.
I like the way
I'm looking at Cortez, going against Muncy and especially Ohtani. I mean, Ohtani by far and away, but Muncy and Freeman if he's playing, trying to get out a couple of key lefties. Give you that inning.
Yeah. Darren?
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing about it, the Dodger bullpen is better than the Yankee bullpen. Whether Weaver's had a great year, I'm not going to take it away from him. I have no faith. Canely's fine. He couldn't even make the Dodger team. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. So it's not like the Dodgers have just younger, stronger arms out of that pen. The Yankees have the better rotation. The Yankees have to prove it with their rotation. They have to get 6 from everybody. You're gonna laugh at me. I would have saved Rodon to Game 3, and I would have pitched him at the stadium, and because he's just so much better at home, and his splits are just that much better at home that I wouldn't have taken the risk of pitching him in L.A. I would have let him pitch Game 3 at Dodgers at Yankee Stadium, and in Game 2 I would have went with Clark Schmidt. They're talking about getting Cole 1, 4, and 7. I wouldn't do that. I know he pitched well in Houston when he did it, but this is not the same guy. He's been coming off injury all year. I would kind of try to go 1 and 5 and see if I can get away with it. And unfortunately, what that does is that Heel will be the guy that pitches Game 4. As much as I like his stuff, he hasn't been great down the stretch, and he just doesn't throw strikes against a team that will walk around the yard against you. And if Heel can't throw strikes, he may not get out of 2 innings the way the Dodgers are patient. They're much more patient than the Guardians are. Lineup is going to be very similar, guys. It's going to be, can Judge compete with Ohtani? Okay, everything else will wash out. Soto is a plus over Betts probably. Okay, overall it's close. I'm not trying to insult Betts when I say that, but just Soto might be the best player on the planet sometimes. Can Judge approach what Ohtani's going to give the Dodgers? Or can the Yankees silence Ohtani, which seems much harder to me? It seems like that would be a little bit more of a challenge going in. So, I mean, he just looks so hulking up there. I mean, and he doesn't seem like he swings at anything bad. And it just, oh, God, he's just so freaking good. And because you feel like the Rizzo Freeman thing almost washes itself out with 2 guys that could barely move playing first base. And you feel like Teoscar Hernandez didn't do much until Game 6, unfortunately. So that means he might start getting hot. But can the Yankees start getting something out of a Chisholm? Well, do they have the answer for Stanton in L.A.? I don't know if they do. If the Yankees can get the contributions they were getting, their lineup might be deeper than the Dodgers, despite the amount of runs the Dodgers scored. Because the Dodgers scored because of walks. The Dodgers got on. They didn't hit. They got on. So if Tommy Edman beats the Yankees, Tommy Edman beats the Yankees. But that's the guy you have to let beat the Yankees.
Yep.
He's got to prove it again for another 7 games. And if he could do that, and the Yankees lose because Tommy Edman was the guy that buried him, you got to live with it, almost like the Mets had to do. But the Mets weren't just close losses. If the Yankees are losing close games to Edman, it becomes a different story, a different animal. I do think that the Yankees, if Chisholm and Wells can hit, the Yankees lineup is deeper. It's just, will Chisholm and Wells hit? That's really what it comes down to. And because it's the top 4 against the top 4, and then the bottom 5, who's going to do what? That's really where we're at in this series to me. Kev?
I'm looking at it going, which flatter are you going to get? The Game 1 shutout against the Mets, or the Game 5, 6 runs or 8 runs and 2 innings, or somewhere in between? If he's not going towards the 7 shutout innings, Cole should be able to take care of Flaherty in 1 and 5. Rodon has to pitch at least one really, really good game. The other one, okay, fine, but one has to be really good. And I think the key's going to come down to that Game 4. It's going to be Hill and the rest of the Yankee bullpen against the Dodgers bullpen, because that's a bullpen game. So if the Yankees, especially games 1, 2, and 3, knowing that Buehler's, been fortunate to get through 4, and knowing that Yamamoto's been on the pitch count, if you can get to Flaherty, especially early in game 1, and if the Yankees are patient, which they can be, they're not quite as patient as the Dodgers, but they can be patient.
Yep.
If they can force the bullpens into the game, I know the Dodgers have a great bullpen, but if you start getting in there early enough in games 1 through 3, and then game 4 is a bullpen game, you could really be taking advantage of the Dodgers in game 4. And I think the Yankees can figure out how to manage, like I said, the 2 cold starts, Rodon 1, and get that bullpen game against the Dodgers. That's the 4 games you need to win.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll also add, G, is that I would actually lean toward Cortez starting game 4, just because you're going to face Freeman and Ohtani in the first inning, and let him go 2. And then I go for heel for 2, and I'd almost treat it like a bullpen game as well. Unless Nestor, if you can stretch Nestor out to 3, you stretch him out to 3. I would just rather start the game where we don't let Ohtani go off on heel. I know that sounds mean, because Heel had such a great start to the season, but he's floundered down the stretch. He pitched more innings than he ever had, and it showed.
In that type of situation, if you can get Cortez flipping the lineup, get Ohtani the second time, then bringing in Heel, where if Heel can give you 2 or 3 innings, he only has to face Ohtani once then. And then get the rest of the bullpen. That's not a bad idea, Darren.
That's where I would go with it.
So for me, I think the key is getting to the bullpen early in game 1 against Flaherty. To me, I'm gonna tell you, I think that's the key, because if we see that bullpen in the 4th, 5th inning to start this series, chances are a lot of those pitchers are going to be pitching a lot. And if you get them in the second and third time around in those games, you may be able to knock them around, similar to what they did to the Cleveland bullpen. We'll see. Do either of you guys think Ohtani pitches it all in this series?
No.
It's been rumored. It's been thrown around.
No. Why bother? Why risk it?
I'm just asking the question.
If he hurts himself pitching, he may not be able to hit. And they need his bat too much. I think it's a risk. That's just my opinion.
So I think
there's a bigger risk.
I think there's only one way you see him pitch, and that's game 7 in an 8th or 9th inning situation. Other than that, I agree. I don't think you're going to see him either, to be honest.
That's actually a very good point, though, Gino. I mean, it could be like that. We're going to bring him in now, and let's see what he can do if the rest of the bullpen's been beaten up a little bit. That's only if they're still trusting Phillips and stuff like that. Then it's not going to happen like that.
All right, let me give you a couple of bets before we make our little predictions here. Vegas thinks this is 6 games, by the way. And how do I know this? Because the under 5.5 is at plus 155.
Okay.
And the over 6.5 games is at plus 195. So Vegas thinks this is 6 games because you basically can't bet this ending in 6. It's like minus 300 and something. Okay. The Dodgers to win are minus 125. Yankees are plus 105. Very negligible odds. It's close. This is about as close as you're going to see this. A bet I like, plus 220. Yankees to win game 1 and to win the World Series. I like that. Plus 220. Get some good odds on that. Most hits in the series, Edman at plus 475 is the best bet at this point. Most RBIs, Stanton or Judge plus 400, Ohtani plus 425. Okay. Most home runs, Judge is at plus 260, Ohtani plus 300, Stanton at plus 320, and then Soto at plus 800, and then it goes way up from there. Okay. MVP to win the series, Judge at plus 400, Stanton at plus 800, Ohtani at plus 1,200. And the only pitcher that is under 2,500 or less is Garrett Cole at plus 2,500 to 1. So just a couple of odds to throw out there. I'll start it off right off the bat. I think it's Yankees in 6. I think the Yankee starters get us through to what the Dodgers don't have. I think that game 1, getting to that bullpen, game 4 is really key. When the Dodgers have to go to that bullpen game, especially if the Yankee hitters have seen these pitchers, these bullpen pitchers in games 1, 2, and 3, I think it's big. So I'm going Yanks in 6. Kevin?
Kev, go ahead.
Yeah, Dodgers pissed me off. Whether it's Paez, hitting 2 home runs, doing backflips down 8-1 and 10-2. Calm down. Look
I
at the
figured it was
scoreboards in that
I figured
game.
it was Kiki Hernandez that killed you, Kev.
He's another guy I can't stand. The stupid, hands in the air and the hips moving back and forth. Stupid looking little. I'm gonna censor myself before I get into trouble with what I really want to say about that stupid dance move. I'm rooting hard for the Yankees in this series. Yankees also won 6. Sorry, G.
It's all right, Darren.
Well, I hate to be unanimous, but I ain't picking against my Yankees. Yankees in 5. I think that the Yankees will find a way to win this series. I honestly think if they can get anything out of Judge, which I hope to God they can, he will be the difference for this team. I think Soto will be the best player, but I think Judge can be a guy that kind of neutralizes everything that Ohtani does, and that's what we really need to have happen. I think the Yankees have better starters, and as much as the bullpen scares the bejesus out of me, I'm going to take the Yankees in 5.
All right, and I got one other thing for you guys, just quickly.
Yeah.
Do you think any game is under 6 runs in total?
Anyone? Yeah, I think one game will go.
You think
under
one
6.
game? Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron?
I do too. I think that
Right.
we'll get a low scoring game somewhere.
I think the only chance of that is game 1 with Cole on the mound. After that, I think this thing is like just a crapshoot. I think there's going to be runs all over the board. I think you're going to get 7 5s and 8 6s. You're going to see a lot of numbers put up on that board. It's going to be big offense. And that's it for us, Darren.
Well, MLB is creaming themselves over this because they got New York and LA. They got the 2 most storied franchises of all time. I know, Gino, you want to make one other point about
Yeah,
I'll let you say it. Go ahead.
Yes. So today we lost Fernando Valenzuela, 1981 Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and World Series winner. He was Fernando Mania. He was a sensation. In his first 8 starts, guys, he threw 73 innings, only gave up 4 runs, had 5 complete games and 4 shutouts in his first 8 starts. It's a amazing start to a career. Listen, didn't play long enough, we know that, but just a sensation when he was here. That wind up, everybody was copying and watching. And Fernando passes away today at the age of 63.
We all remember him. He was again, like you said, as he got older, he was not nearly as effective, but he was a monster when he first broke in. And Fernando Mania was a big deal. We were kids, but it was a really big deal for us. So I'm going to wrap it up. Any other points before we wrap up the show? Again, MLB is creaming in their pants about this one. We got New York versus LA World Series. Should be a real thriller. Getting the 2-1 seeds is always a lot of fun. We're going to see what happens. We're the Sports Kings from Queens. I'm Darren here with Kevin, here with Gino, talking about the wonderful, wild, wacky world of sports, a wacky world where Brian Cashman still has a job. Anyway, download the podcast anywhere you get a podcast, whether it be an Apple product, Spotify, Audio Boom, whatever you like. And also, do your best to like us, share our stuff on social media. We post a lot of stuff. We would like to get your information. You're following us, you're subscribing, and all that fun stuff. Gino?
And look for us on YouTube. We're going to have a page on YouTube. You're able to see us on YouTube with our podcast.
If you don't like the way we look, just listen to the audio. We'll be fine. But without any further ado, may your sports be with you.